I wanted to ask you about stress because that is something that parents are dealing with a lot. And I think the temptation when I'm stressed as a parent and when a lot of people in our audience are talking about stress as parents is to kind of like clamp down on our parenting and to send the peaceful parenting stuff out the window. Like we need to do parenting differently now. Um, what are your thoughts about that? Should we throw peaceful parenting out the window because we're all so stressed, or should we stick to what we're doing?
Well, when we get stressed, we're not known for our excellent cognitive skills. So we often do things that may not be in our best interest or our children's best interest. But it doesn't mean those are the wise things to do that we would do if we were acting in accordance with our values or, looking at what's for everybody's highest good. So maybe we should back up for a minute and just look at stress. So stress, my definition of stress is when there are things coming at you from outside and you don't feel you have the inner resource. You could also use that as a definition of overwhelm. And when we're stressed, we're overwhelmed, right? Because stress isn't necessarily what's actually happening out, right? Something could be happening out here that is the same for you as for someone else. And that other person might be completely overwhelmed by it. And you might be like, yeah, this is a normal week at my house, right? So that might be it. Or you might be that person who's overwhelmed where someone else, it doesn't faze them. You think about like a really great preschool teacher who's got 20 kids and there's pandemonium. I mean, you all know this because you've done this, right? And yet that teacher is like, they've got their hand on one kid and they're talking to another kid and they look up and say, Brian, to the other kid. They've got it. They're in the dance, so they're not stressed by that preschool classroom the way someone else, many of us might be, right? So I think stress is about helping ourselves to develop the inner resource to cope with what's coming at us and to whatever degree is possible to manage what's coming at us from outside. And sometimes what's coming at us is stuff you really can't control, from our society or from our 3-year-old, but some of it you really can. If you give the 3-year-old a nap, there's going to be less to deal with from the 3-year-old later in the day, right? If you set up the rules in your household so that your kids, they feel they want to cooperate with your rules. They're less likely to be going over to somebody else's house and looking at porn secretly on the computer, right? If you've had conversations with them about that. So I think for all of us, there will always be things we don't foresee coming at us. There will always be days that just feel like too much. So it is our responsibility to do everything we can to maintain our own sense of well-being so we have resources to draw on. Absolutely. But to some degree, we can also organize our lives to have at least a little bit of a fighting chance to not be so stressed.